the president and CEO of Diversified Engineering and Quillen Holdings. I have the pleasure to spend the next 45 minutes with you and talk about what exactly I do and how to have a strong mindset to get through a leadership role. So for the next 10 seconds, I'm going to show you a brief video that my marketing team put together. I cannot say that I did this. It's one of the things that I'm not very good at, is actually highlighting some of my experiences in life and some of my pros and cons as an individual. So hopefully this video will give you a little glimpse on who I am and what I've done in the last 15 years, and then we'll go through some more of those topics.
Wife, mother, and CEO Anita Maria Quillen is a rising leader in Michigan's ever-competing manufacturing landscape. As the CEO of Diversified Engineering and Plastics, a certified Hispanic woman-owned engineering and manufacturing operation located in Jackson, Michigan, Anita has created a new kind of culture in her company and the manufacturing industry. Anita has dedicated the past decade of her career to growing DEP into one of Michigan's leading manufacturers in thermoplastic molding and currently ships products across the globe. Her dedication to empower her team has led to an increase in employee retention, quality, and profitability over the past several years. Anita believes and encourages her team that no matter who you are, yes, you can. Anita's commitment to her family, business, and community has set an extraordinary example to business leaders throughout the country. As a mentor and advocate for Hispanic Chamber of Michigan, Anita has been highlighted and featured as one of Michigan's hardest working CEOs, including a front page editorial written and published by the New York Times. Anita is changing her industry through her relentless positivity, strong values, and a no BS culture. The future holds much more for Anita and her team at Diversified Engineering and Plastics.
Let's get started. A raise of hands, has anyone ever been in a manufacturing facility before? Does it look kind of a video, kind of what you remember? Yeah. So we do mostly injection molding, automotive industries we supply to, Ford, General Motors, under the hood products, things that you won't necessarily see in the engines. The business, we have graphics today, so we'll work through this, technical difficulties. The business was started in the 70s, taking machined products and making them into plastic parts. So we are one of the first companies that actually have a plastic part in an engine block of an automobile. So when Linda approached me about being a speaker, I asked obviously what the theme of the program was, and obviously seeking excellence for leaders and women individuals, especially leadership skills and what can be done to help strengthen yourself as an individual to become a better leader if that's what you are looking to do in your professional career or even your personal life. So my topic is have a mindset for success, how to train your mind to sustain grit and position yourself to succeed. I'm going to be 36 years old next week. I told myself I wouldn't say old, 36 years young. Yeah. So I'm starting to feel older as my hair turns gray, actually. I'm older. But I realized over the last 15 years of my career that when I came out of college, I knew very little. I felt like I knew a lot and realized I knew very, very little. I learned the most from being an employee, becoming a business owner, a wife, and a mother. So during those transitions and pivotal points in my life, I grasped on every aspect that I could and continued to learn and to train my mind. And when I'm speaking of actually coming out of high school to college, what I realized is my mind was very weak when I came out of high school, went into college, and went into the work world. I had a strong foundation for education. I was very skilled at test taking. I could get through classes with ease, but as I started to get more into the work world, I realized I knew very, very little on how to react to certain situations. They don't train you in college or in your master's program on how to react to situations and how to train your mind to react to certain situations that are beneficial for yourself, your team, or the people around you. So this is going to be fun. So my hieroglyphic fixed today. I'm not sure why this is working this way because I printed it out. It works great on my sheet.
I want to put something there. I don't know. So what it probably is, in all honesty, is that the computer that you're using doesn't have the font that you created.
Right, that's what it is.
So if you go in and just change your font, so this is it trying to figure out what to do
right.
with it.
Yeah,
So if you just go back and change your fonts, you're fine.
And
But
you can read out that now too.
Oh, there's part of it.
Right, it's just because of the font.
All right, so just in life, there's always something that comes up. You have to work through it. Technical difficulties.
You want me to take that down and edit it? Because you'll see.
Yeah,
Go with
that's
it.
it. Hold on, I can just keep talking.
Okay.
So I had an acronym on the next slide that said GRIT, G-R-I-T, and that stands for guts, at least in my mind. This is not something you might find on the web, but GRIT to me is guts, resilience, initiative, and tenacity. So it's not in any specific order that I'm going to walk through these topics with you, but when I was asked to talk about being a leader, what you need to be a leader, these are things that stuck out in my mind. And I would like this to be an open forum. I love questions. I love to engage the audience. I do this frequently. I do speaking events frequently. The last one I was just speaking of with Jennifer earlier, there were 600 people in the room. It was a little overwhelming. It was a really, really big room, so it's hard for questions. But if you guys do have questions, please don't hesitate to just kind of stop and raise your hand, and then at the end I'll open it up too, if you guys have questions. So while this is not in any specific order, and I have nothing for you guys to look at, I'll just openly talk. Your body goes through fight or flight mode. If anyone's had a child in this room, you understand exactly what that is. I've had two, so I have two boys, they're 6 and 8. Your body tends to react to certain situations depending on how your mind comprehends what's going on. So every day that I go into work, something different occurs. And the day before might necessarily have prepared me for tomorrow, but I'm never quite sure. I have been caught off guard many, many times. A lot of people probably don't realize that I'm a little maybe inexperienced with that situation, but it's all how you train your mind to react to that situation and to comprehend that data that you're bringing in from the outside world and the environment. So through my working career, I have dealt with death of employees, life, birthing children, seeing other people in my work family have families, as well as struggles, personal issues, and professional issues. And it's all, every avenue. I've struggled in my marriage, I've struggled being a mom, I've struggled being a daughter, a sister, a boss, a manager, a friend. Every aspect I have struggled in some degree. Some are higher than others, but there's always been something. So a lot of people, when they meet me, they're like, oh, you're so put together, everything's great. No, half the time I'm running around like crazy. I tend to be late, which is not a great quality, but I do tend to be late. I do school drop-off in the morning, so I get my kids ready in the morning, I pack their lunches, and I take them to school. We're always running out the door, all the time. So people kind of joke with that work. I don't normally schedule anything before 9 a.m. because I don't arrive till about 8:15. School drop-off, school starts at 8:10, get there about 8:15. That's my schedule though. It took me a long time to actually work through what my schedule is going to be and what I can and cannot do as an individual. I noticed that I was stressing myself out beyond even comprehension that one night, and I vividly remember it, I'm folding laundry, my husband's just sitting there hanging out, relaxing, and I'm sobbing. He looks up. Clearly he's walking into the situation because I've got darts coming out of my eyeballs. And he looks up and he's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. I can't do any of this stuff anymore. I was just doing too much. And it's not necessarily the motion of doing too much, but my mind had too many expectations of what I was supposed to get accomplished on a daily basis. Being a wife and a mom and running a business where at that time we had 150 employees and the demands and the stress that are required of you, on top of that, grocery shopping, cleaning, laundry, making dinner, it's extremely overwhelming. And I would like to tell every woman in here that maybe are in that portion of their life with family that it gets easier, it's luck. It doesn't get easier. And I saw a speaker a long time ago, and I'll think of her name, but she runs, it's a type of PR firm in Washington, D.C. for politics. And it's the show Scandal. Have you seen the show Scandal? It's based on her life, but she did say that they don't hide dead bodies or they don't do anything crazy like that. But she was up there speaking and she talked about she was over in a foreign country. She was like, I'm in the middle of a meeting, and she was all of a sudden I realized that it was my snack day. It's my kid's snack day, and she completely forgot. These are the, while they might seem minute, they're the things you're dealing with every single day. As a woman, your mind processes billions of thoughts every single day, nonstop. My husband asked me, how is it possible that when I lay on my pillow, I am passed out in less than 10 minutes? Because I am so emotionally and mentally tired from all the activities that go through every single day. So, the reason why I brought up the speaker I saw, she commented that people always ask her, how do you balance life? How do you balance? And her statement spoke to me so much. She said, I don't balance. There is no great balance. There is no great secret. Every single day it's give and take, and that's the truth. Every single day I'm taking a little from my personal life, I'm giving to my professional life. The next day I might be taking from my professional life and giving to my personal life because I want to get home a little bit earlier. I want to get home, it's nice out, my kids love to play outside. I want to get home and make dinner. Well, my work is going to suffer a little bit because I need to leave an hour or two earlier. And when you're trying to manage all that stuff, every hour that I'm in the office is imperative that I am focused, I am diligent, and my output is 10 times normal. Because those times that I'm there is precious, as long as my family as well. So when you look at the first acronym, GUTS, so the definition is instinct, personal courage and determination, toughness of character. Nothing can prepare you for the journey. Only your character and faith will guide you. So your character at work may not be the most fun. Mine's probably not the most fun. So I would have to say that most people that work around me, I always wonder what they think about me, but truly think about me. But out of respect, I think most of them respect me. They know I work really hard. I'm not the most personable, funny. I don't really have a good sense of humor. I can crack a few jokes here and there, but my husband says I'm not funny at all. Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders as a manager, as a leader, and running a business. And it doesn't end. How you doing over there?
I think I got one.
So at a young age, I built a shield around myself. I built a shield that protected me from outside environments, people's opinions, people's voices to tear me down as an individual. It doesn't mean that things at times don't hurt me, but I pride myself every single day walking into my building being emotionally stable. I trained my mind to be that way. I trained my mind to deal with an employee calling me, letting me know that one of our other employees that we worked with for 20 years took their life the night before. To have to come into work that next day or that morning, walk into a room of my peers that I've worked with for a long time and tell them this news. Nothing trains you for that. But they look to you to be emotionally stable and the ability to communicate on a level that they can understand. Thank you. So Jessie over here is my assistant at work, and she's my better half, as I tell people. She keeps me organized and keeps things going. So back to my subject. Next thing is obviously your faith. Not only is it important to have self-worth, but you have to have faith. I talk to God more than I talk to anyone. I do it in my own mind. I'm not an openly person to talk about religion or anything. Also being a professional, be a very private person. You don't engage in gossip. You don't engage in office chatter. You just pretty much ignore all the stuff that goes on. And you definitely don't share opinions about people in an open environment. Keep your group pretty close. And there are things that I have to deal with on a daily basis that I truly have nobody I can talk to at work. It could be in regards to the person I'm closest to. I might have to make a decision because business gets bad and you have to start moving people around, or you have to do layoffs. You know, back in the 2007, 2008 time frame, everyone knew that businesses were closing. They were laying off mass amounts of people. It's a struggle. So keep true to your character and obviously have your faith ongoing. The unfortunate part for women is odds are not in your favor. I try to figure out how I could do this with Hunger Games, but I couldn't figure it out properly. So the odds are not in your favor. And I found these statistics very interesting. I actually was reading an article the other day. This has improved a little bit over the last 10 years, but not much. So women represent 46.8% of our labor force. That's almost half. 51.4% are management professional roles. But look at the difference between that and to the next. 14% hold executive offices. That's director position, president, CEO, top financial people, etc. 16 in board seats. 8% are top earners, which mean in their home they're top earners. And then 5%, only 5% of that, almost 50% of our population are in CEO and president positions. Sheryl Sandberg talks a lot about this, from Facebook. She's well known these days, especially for women, and her advocacy for women and how to improve these things and to keep going. So when you start and you ask yourself, and I ask myself, why don't more women engage? Why don't more women want to become managers and move up in the ranks? And they talk about stereotypes for women. Someone told me we did ourselves a disservice back in the women's movement. It was that late 60s, early 70s, where women wanted to start going to work, which was phenomenal. The problem was we didn't let go of our other responsibilities at the same time, so we're still expected to be a homemaker, a dutiful wife, and work full-time. So you're doing 3 jobs. One person's doing 3 jobs. So not only that, but the stereotypes, while they have evolved, it's very more open for women, it is still very much there. So you can have strong leadership skills, you can act like a leader, but I read a comment, it's not ladylike. I'm not ladylike. You still are supposed to fit into a status quo that we don't necessarily fit in. So to lead, you have to go against pretty much the odds, and you have to go against all those stereotypes. And every single day, wake up and feel good about yourself, and every single day, go home and still feel good about yourself. Even though lots of times, if you're in a leadership role, you will be sitting in a room full of men that don't have the same challenges. They walk out of the meeting and they're like, man, I can't wait to go home. My wife is cooking this. I'm so hungry, and I'm looking at them going, yeah, I'm the wife at home, and I'm the one cooking. They kind of look at me and they're like, oh, no, I'm the one doing all those things too. So it's very interesting how much we haven't shared the responsibility with men, and we haven't made it more accepting, which it takes men to do this as well. It's not just women. It takes all of us to make it more accepting, as well as talking about it openly in your professional environment. So I wanted to read the attached, and this is why I do notes, because I start to talk and then I forget about the special things I wanted to read. So this was a survey that I came across, and it says a number of respondents thought that wanting to be nice and worrying about what others think can negatively influence women's effectiveness as leaders. So some comments were, women can be effective leaders as long as they're not impaired by wanting to be nice. So it's either I'm stern and not ladylike, or I'm trying too hard to be nice. These are all the judgments you're getting all the time, the stereotypes, and this is all about training your mind to be prepared to work through these situations. Many women lack personal confidence, and this affects their ability to effectively inspire. They are often defensive, more so than male colleagues, when challenged constructively, which I can see. Women naturally, we're a little more sensitive. We have more emotion than majority of the men do, so I think we do become a little more defensive with criticism, so we have to work through those situations too. It says, too many managers assume that the leaders above them will take care of them. I found that one kind of interesting. Women I have worked with tend to be excellent planners, good team builders. Many, however, have a tendency to do more work than they need to, as they're not always comfortable delegating. Now that is the truth for women. We want to do it all. We don't want to ask for help. We don't want to admit we need help. We're somehow just going to make it all work. Those 3 jobs that we're still assuming as a wife, a mom, and a professional. So this graphics represents more women actually complete degrees than men do. By 20%. 20% more women go and get bachelor's degrees. But this is how we're represented in leadership roles. Medical profession. I found this one very interesting in U.S. Congress, which you can't see them. Actually, is that an Eiffel Tower? Sorry. This is 66%, 34%. This is 81, 19, 81, 19. So only 19% of U.S. Congress positions are actually held by women. 19% in executive roles. So my notes on here to myself were, why are only 19% of all U.S. Congress held by women? I asked myself that. I also asked myself on all these boards that I sit on, and they ask for more people to get involved, like with the city of Jackson, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that role, but why? Why don't we want to do more of that? One, my plate is too full right now, and I openly admit that. But why don't more women want to be in Congress roles or government roles, and why don't more women want to be in executive office roles? It's judgment. It's getting through the judgment every single day and working past the barriers of those stereotypes. And the ability to train your mind. So if you look at recently about the female movement and empowerment of women, so we all want to empower women, we want to grow women, and we're completely underrepresented in Congress. It's kind of challenging to get your message out there with one speaking it is not of the same sex as you, maybe don't necessarily understand the struggles that we deal with on a daily basis. So the other portion of grit is resilience. The ability to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness, the ability to absorb or avoid damage without suffering complete failure. For me, I write myself more notes to share some more personal aspects, which is one of my greatest weaknesses, is sharing stuff about my personal life. But I think it tells a good story about resilience. 2009, I had our first son. He's 8 now. He's healthy, everything was great. We decided we wanted to extend our family. I had another son in 2011, fall of 2011, things didn't go as planned. I had an emergency C-section. I'm going to sum it up pretty briefly for you, but emergency C-section. I almost lost my life and my son, and then I was off for 10 months due to some pretty significant medical issues that I had to have ongoing surgeries for. So I looked at that, and the reason why I share that story, at the end of it, I was shaking to the core. I truly one day woke up and said, I can't go back to work. I can't go back. I've lost every ounce of who I was as a person before this. I'm scared to leave my house. The fear was overwhelming for me. Because in a split moment, I realized I had no control over my life. That I was dependent on other people to take care of me and my son, and I'm a control freak. So all of a sudden it vanished. And I woke up and I'm like, I can't get it back. It's not gonna come back. That assertiveness aspect, people say they use the word bitchiness, but whatever, assertiveness, yeah, it was gone. And I was truly fearful it was never going to come back. So that was 2011 into 2012. Thankfully, I went back to work part-time towards the end of 2012, and I realized that things weren't quite working out with myself and my business partners, and I realized that I had an opportunity. I had an opportunity that I knew I could lead that company. I knew that I could make this work and make it successful. So I asked about potentially buying out 2 of my business partners. There were 4 of us at the time. So we came to a deal at the end of 2013. We closed out that deal, and I became majority owner of the company, 81%. While that was invigorating and things were great, I didn't see in the near future that I had another hurdle to overcome. 2015 rolls around. Some significant staffing issues had to be adjusted at work. And whenever you're changing any of your management team, it's extremely disruptive to your working environment. So I ask myself every single day, how am I going to get up? I'm going to go to work. Encourage everyone to be positive. Yes, we're changing over some managers. Yes, these people are not working out. How am I working with my mind to continue going? building these barriers, but not only that, being so in tune with my own personal feelings and my leadership skills that I can talk myself through these situations. It is a unique skill set, but anybody can train their mind to deal with situations that they want to. So, the 5 things I listed on here for you. Don't allow yourself to be controlled by 5 things. Your past, others people's opinions, which I could share many, which we'll see some in the future of people's opinions of me. Limited beliefs, relationships, and money. When you're in a leadership role, you put everyone before yourself, especially when you're running a business. You make decisions based on what is the benefit of the majority, not one person. That one person is especially not yourself. There are things that either build you up or tear you down. You decide in your mind which one it will be. And only you have that control. Next one up, great, is initiative. The ability to assess and initiate things independently. So back to my story about buying out my other owners. That was where I show true initiative, because they told me you can't be in a management role, you can't run this company, you don't know enough. I knew that I could, and I knew I wanted to. And I, at that point, could put myself in a situation where there was still a significant amount of fear, but I was confident enough in my ability that if I took this leap, I could make it successful. And that's exactly what I did. I put forth that initiative. I can't sit here and tell you that I knew every single thing about that business, because I didn't. I knew I wanted to, though. I knew I would make myself learn whatever I needed to make it successful. So as women, and when you're starting to engage in leadership positions, the one thing you need to do is you have to take a lot of risks. You have to put yourself in very uncomfortable situations. Anytime there was an opening or someone vacated a position in the company, the whole 15 years I was there, I filled that spot and did the other job I was still doing. At one time I was running HR, purchasing, and finance. And then I think a few months later I picked up IT as well. I didn't really know a whole lot about computers, but I learned everything I needed to about our software system. I'm gonna click on that. Only 26 women are in CE roles at Fortune 500 companies. That's 5.2% of the female population. I'm sure some of you know their names. Mary Barr of GM. She's become a very big advocate for speaking up about women in leadership roles, encouraging other women. And it's funny, my husband and I, we talk about, are you a feminist? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm a feminist or what I define that is. I'm surrounded by men, and I have boys at home. I have a husband, I have a boy dog, so I have boys everywhere. I love them all. And I said, no, I believe in equal rights between people, men and women. I believe that the pay gap needs to close, but unfortunately, we don't ask for more as women. We don't go in and say, look, Joe Schmo is making X, I'm making Y, and we do the same job. We don't speak up enough for ourselves. On top of that, we don't encourage each other enough to seek leadership type roles, because we understand, and especially someone in the leadership role, we understand those stereotypes and how comfortable we are breaking those barriers, getting through those stereotypes, because they can be very hurtful, what people expect you to do. You guys seen the movie The Intern? Nobody? A couple people? I don't think that. So when I hired her, when she joined our team, I said, you need to go home and watch The Devil Wears Prada and The Intern, and then you'll have me all figured out. I wasn't kidding either, but she started watching portions of it like after a year, and she started laughing. She's like, okay, now I get the similarities. But in The Intern, there is a part in the movie where the intern takes the daughter to a birthday party. And there's a group of moms, non-working moms that are at the birthday party, and they're like, oh, who are you? Are you Amanda's grandpa? And he's like, no, I work for Jules. And they like this look on their face. And his first comment was like, isn't that cool? I mean, she's a woman CEO, one of the top companies that are up and coming. She was being judged by other women because she doesn't fit in that little box that we're all supposed to fit in. We don't encourage each other enough. I know that for sure with women. It's very, very challenging. And you ask yourself why. If you've seen someone lately that that could struggle or could use a few positive words, did we actually say them? Or do we just kind of sit back? So this is my favorite. If you choose to be a leader, you have to prepare yourself for daily battles, going literally into battle every single day. Your armor better be thick, you better be well rested, well nourished, your hair done, your nail, whatever it is you need to make yourself feel good about yourself every single day. You better do all of it, because you're never quite sure what that day is going to hold for you. So I mentioned earlier about at a young age I built this wall around me. And part of that was to protect myself from being hurt. I do not let very many people get very close to me. I'm a very private person. I don't share stuff. I don't talk about my work life with anyone. Jesse can attest to this outside of work. Some of my girlfriends really don't know what I do at all. I've had other co-friends say, "Oh, I didn't even know you worked." Because when they see me, I'm just the mom, or I'm just the wife, or I'm just the friend hanging out, having a good time. That's it, because I keep it all very, very private. It's essential. Any of these top CEOs that you see outside of what the media puts out there, you'll find very, very little about them in their personal lives. They're not the Kardashians, they're not on E all the time, they remain private at all times. And they have to. They have to remain very guarded. I've been referred to as the Tin Man, Tin Woman. One time I was called the Grim Reaper. That was a fun day. That was back in 2008 when we were doing mass layoffs. We laid off 200 people within a matter of 12 months. And unfortunately, I was called the Grim Reaper because at that time I was managing HR. I just had the unfortunate luxury, it's not a luxury, but I was one that had to share all that bad news with people. It's emotionally devastating to see someone realize that you've just affected their personal life. And then as well as, I've been told I have ice water that runs through my veins too. So, to kind of go into that, about a year ago, New York Times approached me and it kind of brought up this memory I had back in the 2010 time frame. Actually, it was March 2011, where the company that I'm an owner of now went through restructuring, and that's when I became an owner, was after this restructuring happened. Myself and 3 other business partners bought the assets out of bankruptcy. There was an article, and it was a very brief article, and kind of talked about everything that was going on. There were no layoffs. And there was a comment. So my parents were the previous owners of the company. And what a joke. Time for Miss Prissy to get a real job instead of mommy and daddy taking care of her. Good luck in the real world, Anita. Out of everything that happened during that time, this stuck with me. Some stranger that I didn't even know that had a cat logo, no name, judged me. Made a judgment that, to me, I'm reading, I don't work, I don't put forth any effort, and I have no clue on what I'm doing. It was hard. I sobbed. And I pride myself in not crying at work, but I sobbed at this. Some person I didn't even know got so deep, it hurt me. So, you have tenacity, the quality of the fact of being very determined and persistent. I told myself, suck it up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop with the self-pity and the self-loathing. What's it gonna do? Nothing, just ruin my mascara. I had to go fix my makeup, and it's not gonna help me. I have a rule, I take my makeup bag everywhere with me. I know it sounds little, and I don't actually touch up at all during the day, but it's the one day that I don't bring my makeup bag to work is where something happens where I gotta fix my eye makeup so I look better. But I knew at that time, this is what I was born to do. I was born to be a leader. I feel good about it. I know I can do it every single day. Now, knowing you can do something versus having the skill set to do something is completely 2 different things. I know I can do something. At that time, I didn't know anything on skills, on how to run the software system, how to manage this, how to do that. That's a completely different scenario. But I knew I'd learn because I wanted to and I had the drive. So last year, a reporter from the New York Times contacted me. I thought it was a joke. I actually had to look up his name. His name was Gabriel Tripp. I'm like, that's not a real person. There's no way. This is, scam. He wanted to come in the facility, and I was like, okay, I'll entertain it. So he came. I mean, he spent so much time with us to the point that I'm like, are you leaving? Because you're starting to bug me. Like, you're following me around. He had free access to me. I even let him come to my home, which is a big deal. Even let him come to my home because we were going to Detroit one day, so he rode in the car. He met my children. Again, very big deal. So I walked into the situation knowing that, hey, this is a great opportunity for DEP. This is a great opportunity for the community in which I live and I love, Jackson. A renowned journalist from the New York Times is willing to come here and write an article. He interviewed 10 business owners. I'm like, and he picked me. So it's like, great, I have nothing to hide. You're more than welcome to come. So he comes, he writes these articles. I wasn't quite prepared for, I guess, the responses I'd get from the article. But once you allow the media into your life, you open yourself up for every type of scrutiny there is. So there's been 3 articles since the original one. One of the articles actually has 46 comments on it. 46 comments. And it's from an event that was at, we have at Jackson College. So they take excerpts from our ongoing forum that we had, and they create an article. So they take my words out of context, even though there's some parentheses, which yes, I probably said those things, but again, out of context, and they publish them. The criticism I received was unbelievable. I received handwritten notes from a doctor in Reno, which was the meanest thing I've ever read. I had people say some of the meanest things, and I had to sit there and go, yes, it absolutely bothered me. But at the same time, I told myself in my mind, if someone is willing to make a judgment on me based on one news article that was taken from a journalist, that's their interpretation from their time with me, then they're not really worthy of my time. Mm-hmm. But as an individual that this is coming downstream. I mean, I had people even close to me that were upset with the article that I'm like sitting here arguing with over it. I'm like, finally, I didn't write it. I didn't write it. But my rule of thumb is no PR is bad PR. We're all over the New York Times. Jackson's all of a sudden, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was going on. Now I've had positive feedback. I've had people come up to me, other moms, working moms going, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for telling us what you do. Because every time I see you, you're put together, and I'm like, no, every time I'm running around like a crazy person, but it encourages other women to realize that they can do more. On top of that, it makes people realize what is actually going on in the work world behind those 4 walls that people don't see. These are some of the comments that were on there. Miss Prissy is my favorite. Stupid, get a real job. How could you be so dumb? Someone told me to educate myself on manufacturing and insurance. I'm all, I cheat my employees, non-stop judgment, I don't know anything. And then at the end of the day, you realize that if you elect to be in a leadership role, especially in a top management, it gets lonely. It is very lonely. So then I ask myself, how do you get through being lonely? Just be your own hero. I've had people that have interviewed me and asked me, what's your inspiration? Who's that person for you? I just kind of sit there and I go, I don't know. But then the day, I realize it's myself. It's the person that I talk to every single day that's inside that motivates me, that I keep going. It doesn't mean that people in my outside life don't do those things for me. But when you're a leader, and you choose to be a leader, you have to depend on yourself more than anybody. Again, that your mind is going to get through every single one of these situations that you're going to be presented with, because nothing prepares you for every single one of them. This is me, my family. It's obviously just being you. I never thought I could do anything a man can do. I just thought I could do anything. It was never a competition between me and boys. I was in high school, I wasn't competing with other guys. I was just competing with myself every single day. My sister used to pick on me because I would If I got below an A on anything, I was crying. She was like, what is wrong with you? I got a C minus, and this is awesome. And I'm like, no. I was constantly in competition with myself to be better. Every single day, perform better. Encourage people to be better. So this is my mom. So the other day I was driving, and I'm thinking, I'm like, God, who is the person that really has done it all for me? And it's my mom. She's my superhero. Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't know how to sew, I wouldn't know how to cook, I wouldn't know how to love, I wouldn't know how to speak. I wouldn't know any of these things without my mother and my father, but my mother especially. You know, she taught me being a woman. We teach young girls and young females how to provide for not only themselves, but their families. She worked. She came from a poor family. She had 6 brothers that she says they ate everything. There were never any leftovers. And her mom made clothes out of curtains. She worked every single day. And she taught me what good work was, hard work, and to be a loving person at the same time, to be a loving woman. And unfortunately, I don't tell my mom this enough. We are completely opposites on personality. I mean, completely opposite. But my loving aspect and me being a good mom and a good wife, I learned from her. So she is my superhero. So there was comments about how successful women terrify us as a whole. It's kind of like that comment I said about the show Intern. Why do successful women terrify us? Why is it that we stray away from people that do so well? Or that are in these roles and maybe aren't the office-friendly person all the time, or the one gossiping in the break room, because they don't fit in that stereotype of not ladylike. I encourage individuals to openly discuss the elephant in the room. If you want to become a leader and encourage other women to be leaders, 1, you have to train your mind. 2, you have to openly talk about the stereotypes. It doesn't mean we men bash or we bash each other. It's not that. We just say, look, I openly talk about the majority of the time I am sitting in a conference room with mostly men. It's just the fact of my working environment. I've learned how to train myself to be prepared for them, the meetings. And I've taught myself to make sure that your body language is always a certain way, assertive and confident. Even though half the time in some of those meetings, I have no idea what you're talking about. But they don't know that. Those are the most important attributes you can have. And to be okay with being a little scary once in a while. So bad for business. Women leaders can make companies stronger and more profitable. And that's actually, they've proven that women that run businesses, their revenue and their profit is, their improvement and the increase is significantly higher than companies ran by men. So those are my last couple slides here. But challenges women leaders face and how to overcome them. Being treated equally. Raise your hand and speak up. And that's the truth. No one's going to come get you out of your chair. Build a sisterhood. Support and empower each other. Stop judging. Generating revenue. Money solves everything in business. Now, this doesn't mean the money that you make as an individual, but it is the truth. If you're running a business or you're a part of a business, they have to make money. If they do not make money, there is no success for anyone involved. And it's okay to talk about those things too. Women tend to stray away from talking about financial situations. Being confident. Others will try to consistently take you off your game. Hit you at the knees. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a woman. You're too young. How could you know how to run a business? You're 28 years old. You know nothing. That's what a banker told me once. That was fun too. So make sure you're always prepared. Speaking up. Make your presence known as a leader and a collaborator. Be comfortable with your statements and the visions that you share. Building alliances with decision makers. Healthy relationships are necessary. This is one of the things I've had to learn over time too, because I am such a private person. I'm actually more of an introvert. I prefer to stay at work and home and stay in my comfortable environment, and I have to keep going to these events and, as I call it, schmoozing. I have to go walk around and talk to these strangers I don't know and shake hands, and it's always like at 4:30 to 6:30, they love cocktails. But then I'm like, okay, that's fine, I might have a glass of wine, but I still have to drive home, and it's an hour and a half, and it's just men in suits. I'm like, that's all they do. They just hang out, and they're just, I'm like, I gotta go home. I got lunches to make, I got laundry to do, dinner. And becoming a member of the C-suite, know what you want and be relentless to get it. At the end of the day, don't disappoint yourself. The picture I showed you with my long curly hair, that was from high school. Once upon a time, you were a little girl with big dreams that you promised you would make real one day. The key word is you. So that is the end of my presentation. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I've been talking a while. Don't all ask it once. Yes.
You said your body language. You have to do it. I find I don't know what to do with my hands, so a lot of times I cross my arms, which is crossing people out. How do you?
When you're sitting down,
Yes.
I put it in my lap.
Do you?
And if you fidget, like I tend to fidget sometimes, like I'm a leg shaker. Paper clip, not a pen, because people tend to get annoyed with the noise.
I don't.
So just get something you can put in your hand that you can kind of, I think it relaxes your stress level. But my sister used to kick me across the table because I was constantly shaking my leg. I used to draw in the air too, like I'd be thinking about something, sit at the dinner table, like off in La La Land and stuff. But in your lap,
Okay.
and then just keep your shoulders back.
Can I piggyback on one thing? So there's like, I'm sure a lot of people may know about maybe fidget spinners, but there's also fidget toys that are very quiet. I'm a big fan of Shark Tank, and there was a guy who was on there. I was like, hey, I think that would be really, really cool. My fiance's a big fidgeter as well. And then sometimes in meetings, I just would need something to do. So there's a lot of even quiet, they call them just fidget toys that you can buy. I mean, I got 2 of them for $10. So really, really cheap too. So.
That's it? No other questions? I must have answered everything you've ever wanted to know.
I noticed in your bio you had that you are a certified Hispanic woman-owned company. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I am half Mexican. My mom is first generation born in the United States, and through certifications in the state of Michigan, you can certify your company, which the federal government mandates that either publicly traded companies source so much work to minority companies. So I'm double certified between being a female and a Hispanic. It's not it doesn't answer all of your prayers, but it's at least a one check out of a box. It kind of moves you up a level. It doesn't secure work, but it does have some advantages to it. And then you need to make sure that you market and solicit that as well. Yes?
You mentioned that this was from that quote, that it was a mommy and daddy taking care of you. Had those 4 other owners been family relatives?
No.
Well, that helps.
Yes.
So you talked a lot about like the negative comments that were said about you, and unfortunately that is something that was fights against, one of your perceived as men. So when you had those things that were said about you, how do you talk yourself out of that? Right? So you talked about like training yourself to deal with it, but how did you actually pull yourself out of that and not just sit and
Well, it's like the letter I got from the Dr. Reno. I think she opened it first and read it, and she was like, I don't want to give this to you. I'm like, just give it to me. So I read it, and I was like, I just have to be like, whatever. I just really just roll it off your shoulders. Again, this is in a situation where someone who does not know me is reading an article written by someone else and passing a significant amount of judgment on me. To me, in my mind, that person is not worth my time or my emotion. Because 1, they have no right, and 2, they really don't have any of the facts to pass those judgments on me. You just have to build up that I am confident. What I'm doing every single day is to better the people that are around me in my working environment. I don't do anything illegally. I'm very open about the things that I do, and that keeps you ongoing.
Well, and when that happened, we had discussed these negative comments and what are they seeing, and really honestly look at what she was doing and what we're doing within the company, and is there any little bit of truth to that, or what can we do to change that that outlook and how to respond to these things and reflect on them and pull something out to make those positive changes.
Again, how do you grow from it? That's what I look at. What can I take from, I guess, their constructive criticism and maybe try to change people's views. Probably what bothers me the most is not necessarily those comments, but people that are in my own community that gossip and they say things. And it's interesting, people talk more about people they know nothing about because they want to know about it. Those hurt because I have a family here and I have kids and they're not of age to where they're aware of what's going on. But my 8-year-old, one day I picked him up from school and we're going home. He's like, Mom, he's like, have you ever fired anyone? I'm like, what? I'm like, why are you asking me that? He's like, no, have you ever fired anyone? I said, yes, unfortunately I have. And he goes, well, can you get fired? And I said, well, technically no, not in my current position, I cannot, but I hold myself to very high standards. And I'm in my mind thinking, why is he asking me this? And it's because someone that worked with us in the past made a comment to another kid and they're all in the same school district. So I see that stuff coming down the pipeline more. And the only thing we can do as parents and people that are in these roles is openly talk about things in your home and prepare your family and yourself. I mean, when the mom instincts come out, that's a whole different monster to deal with. So. Anybody else?
So I have a question. You talked a little bit about trying to, like, how women try to be nice, like a nice person in the office. So when I started my current position, one thing that I noticed was the women that I work with in emails and pings use smiley faces and exclamation points. And I was like, well, I don't feel like I need to add a smiley face every time I ask a question or someone to help me with something or an exclamation point. Like, I'm super excited about this email. But then I found myself starting to do it because these other women were doing it. So I guess my question is, like, do you ever have to step back and make sure you're not conforming to the things that are happening around you?
Well, one thing on that to me is email etiquette. So you shouldn't be using emojis or anything like that with the work email. And exclamation points, I'm like, why are you yelling at me through email? To me, that's like somebody yelling. Do I find myself? No, I don't, because I make it a point to not engage and not be a part of that. I mean, even Jessie knows, like, there'll be something that's going on and I'm like, I don't want to know, I don't want to hear it, because obviously people will talk to her and they're like just, personal life stories, and I really don't want to know anything about it. I just keep myself in that mode of my mind and I keep myself separate. It doesn't mean that I won't open up about a story with my kids or etc., but I don't engage in any of it. Again, it's work etiquette, business etiquette. I don't know if I've ever used a smiley face, maybe with someone. So it's like the texting.
Yeah.
So I would never text a customer. I mean, that's just to me very odd. Some of them text now. I got a text from someone, I'm like, who is this person? And it was this long thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's one of our customers. I'm like, this is really odd to me. That's not something I would normally do. I would pick up the phone or I would email.
But as a woman, you do tend to be a little more, with my husband, I would help manage our hockey team, and a lot of the emails, if I sent out from my end, I would be more like, oh, great, like, really excited and whatnot. And my husband's like, please stop doing that. And I've learned through, working with, Anita's very good with words and explaining that emotion with your words instead of saying it, putting it in an eloquent, nice way and making it feel softer than adding all the extras.
That's a good point.
And the 10 emojis don't exist when you're sending an email. You can express through words.
Yes.
Excitement, kindness, anger, frustration, sadness, all that stuff can be expressed through words.
I think it was a cultural transition for me too, because I came from an environment where it was professional emails all day long because they're communicating really important details to people. And then I was thrown into this where it's like common practice, and it's like, I don't tend to use them. If I'm meeting like one of my coworkers that works at my same level, then she might get a smiley face if she's lucky. But
I put in some pretty pleases with our IT guy sometimes, like,
Yeah. It was interesting.
when you need to, someone I excited.
So the keynote this morning she mentioned a lot about, not a lot, but like throughout her address, she was threw in like relationships are important. But what I'm hearing from you is more compartmentalized, and I'm sure that you have those relationships in the where I am, I'm a project manager, so relationships are super important, and I found that not compartmentalizing and finding a commonality in my personal life with somebody else allows you to.
No, I absolutely, she's correct. Now, when I'm referencing to, you know, segregating, kind of being in a silo, is specific to in a leadership role when you're managing and in charge of a significant amount of people and you have to make decisions. That's a different scenario. I have very good relationships with everyone that I work with. I know their kids' names, I know their spouses, I know everything about them, so I have that relationship with them. Me as an individual, I just limit how much that interaction, because the hard truth is at the end of the day, if I have to make a business decision, it might mean that I have to sever that relationship with that person, and that's challenging. Especially, and the other thing that's challenging, if you get in a professional setting when you're the top person or a top manager, and you have to have a discussion, and if I've talked to Jessie about performance stuff, I'll start to be like, I don't want to hurt her feelings. Or I find myself getting a little more guarded of being open. That's where that fine line comes in. But yes, you absolutely need similarities. Hey, you have things in common. We're humans. We all have things in common. I mean, the secret code is sports and kids. I mean, anyone can, or your pets, anyone can talk about that stuff, and that's what you want to engage, because you do need to build those strong relationships. But specific to management and top leadership roles, there's just a fine line.
Okay, so just more managing it and how.
Yes. Yes.
Not having control.
Okay.
She doesn't really sit in her office by herself with the windows closed.
There's always people in my office. No, I guess my example would be if you manage me and you and I were like great friends, we hung out a couple times a month, we go out on Friday nights, whatever it is, and then your boss comes and says, hi, things are getting tough financially, you need to let Anita go. That's where things get really hard. Again, it doesn't mean that we're not human. It doesn't mean we don't have feelings, but you have to be able to separate the two.
I always taught in the past, when you begin a conversation, to begin with the role, that you're as your friend, as your boss. I have to have a really tough conversation. I'm not comfortable with this, and then going forward.
I feel like my lead-in is usually like, well, this isn't going to be a great topic, or we need to talk about this because there's been some things going on. I'm going to be very frank and open and honest with you because that is my practice. I openly talk about being upfront and honest with people. That's usually how I lead into those challenging conversations, because I've been doing this a while now and they're still not fun. Like, I don't like them. Nobody likes to have those conversations with someone when you have to say, hey, Tom, the group is saying that you're like in the corner spanking swear words and nobody wants to work with you, or hey, you're sharing too much of your personal life and it's distracting everyone else in your shared office space, things like that. Or talk about performance issues. No one ever loves it. Anybody else? Well, ladies, hey, I've had you guys for like a whole hour. Thank you.